What the?
What the?
Oh, it was being goofy. It was saying stream complete. I was like, oh no, it's not. Oh no, it's not. It's not started yet. It's not over yet. Oh, it's going on for a million years. I'm disturbed because it still thinks someone's watching. But that's okay. Welcome to Depths of Gaming, episode Le 15.
Greetings, comrades! Today we have a deluxe show for you.
Yes, a deluxe show. Because we don't have two articles this time. We have 4. Wait. 5.
One is small one, but it's better one.
Yes, that's why we do this early in the morning, so that we can make this many mistakes. But it's all worth it in the name of science.
Ah. So, comrade, what do we have for our first news?
Well, our first news, dear comrade, is White House is now our place. You see, we have our agents in the White House.
And yes, they are orange and have to pay us.
Indeed. and the FBI, they thought they could catch us, but no, they got thrown out. Hey.
Yeah, it's very difficult to throw away like a giant guy, like who has like 3 meters, who is like 3 meters high.
Are we talking about Trump or Comey now?
Connie, he's very tall.
Yes, he is. Like, I kind of want to put him alongside Conan O'Brien to see who's taller, because that's the other guy that we look at and go, wow, he's tall.
I want to put him against someone who is very small, like Markiplier, to just show the difference.
Part of me thinks Markiplier would want to do that. The other part of me thinks he wouldn't want to do that. But moving on, let's talk about the disappointment that was Mass Effect Andromeda. Oh, I thought I fixed that pop-up, but I apparently didn't. That's okay.
So yeah, why did Mass Effect Andromeda come around to our news today? Because
it's weird.
I thought that we talked about it.
Well, we talked about it, and the thing is, neither of us have played it, so that's why we didn't say much about it. However, the news has decided that this game is very notable in that it had a 4 to 5 year production time, right? That's normal. Completely normal.
That's decent. Yeah, that's a decent production time for a AAA game.
AAA game? 4 to 5 years? Sure. However, the part that is dishonorable is they only used 18 of those months to actually make the finished game we played.
So, basically what are you saying is that they tried to create a AAA title on a multi-million-dollar budget in just a year and a half.
They tried to rush it.
Oh! So, what are you trying to tell me is that if you rush a game in a year and a half, the game is not going to be received well and will have a lot of bugs?
Oh, absolutely. That's what happens when you cut the fucking production time that bad.
Yeah, basically creation of Mass Effect Andromeda was completely and utterly badly managed because first of all, the entire beginning of the entire production schedule was dominated by procedurally generated maps, which they couldn't make look. They just couldn't make it look good.
Yeah.
And no matter what they tried, it always looked like No Man's Sky.
Yeah, because the thing about procedural generation is it's a buzzword that many people use, but they don't quite understand how basic and simple it really is. Because procedural generation, you hear that and you go, wow, what I want to use procedural generation. What's procedural generation? Oh, it's a technique where it draws this, then that, then this.
Yeah, it's basically a technique that game developers use to create a generating engine that generates content for them. The content is dynamic, so it very rarely is alike like another piece of content. So it creates a lot of variety in terms of whatever you apply it to. However, the downside is that it's much more difficult to develop. So what you end up doing is creating one piece of software that creates a lot of stuff that you don't have control over.
Right. And what we mean by no control is several things. For instance, let's look at the game We Happy Few. That game is predominantly procedural generated. All of the maps are created for each playthrough using an algorithm. And I've been playing We Happy Few ever since it came out on early access.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I can tell you is that, oh boy, it was a growing process. Because the very first procedural generated maps were abysmal, ugly, horrid. And anyone that has done this long enough, that is to say played alpha games, can tell you exactly what a procedural generated map looks like. Because they have to be made a certain way. And
yes, for example,
yes.
the best procedurally generated game on the market, or that is Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
Minecraft started with its earliest version on May 10th, 2009, right?
Right.
And the moment it went alpha, beta. Oh, the moment it went was released was November 18th, 2011. So it's already 2 years, right? But it was still developing until today, which is 2017. So it's basically procedural generation is an ongoing, constantly additive process. You cannot just make it.
Right. Because the thing about procedural generation is it literally is just the maps, the placement. You can't... The reason why we keep railing against Andromeda for its focus on procedural generation is because they admitted as much to reviewers, or not reviewers, but the journalists from Kotaku and PC Gamer who broke the story, is they said things like, we would make something and then the next morning it would be gone. And what they mean by that is they'd spend all this time building this procedural generation, and then they would produce something next, and they couldn't be put together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or they would make this lovely area, but there would be a critical flaw with it, and they'd have to scrap it. It's that sort of shit that is a death sentence to amateurs, because they leap into game development. They say, okay, I'm going to do all of these awesome things that people expect, and of course it can't be done by one person in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a lot of work. That's why it's been so hard for me to get my coding thing off the ground, because it's scary how much you have to do, and it is all
computers basically are incredibly stupid. They will do the thing that you tell them to do, and exactly the way you tell them to do it. So if you fuck up at any point, they will repeat that fuck up, and as a result, it's going to whatever you're trying to do will be broken until you fix it.
And this is why raising a child much easier than coding, because at least the kid will learn from its mistakes.
Yep.
Where a computer, it'll make an error, and then you have to fix that error because it's not gonna get fixed on its own.
Yeah. So you basically need to go through whatever you did and see what interacts with what. You have to see. You have to spend incredible amount of time on bug fixing before the code that you wrote even works.
And we see it with Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
Because what was it? A lot of the animations aren't done. I believe some are locked in shitty poses. I don't know.
Yeah, basically what happened with the animation, from what I have learned, was that they created a animation engine, and because most of that animations were generated by the engine,
oh no,
based on the words that were used. Usually that's a good technique. However, later on, animators need to come in and start fixing the errors that computer generated.
Yeah, because the thing about that technique is it only lifts a lot of the work.
Yeah.
The initial work. You still have to clean it up and edit it.
Yeah, basically, computer creates a sketch of an animation, if that makes any sense, and then the animator just makes it all that much better. But because they wasted time on the generation engine, they didn't have the time to let animators go over all the animation cycles, and because of that, the game suffered tremendously.
Yeah, because it takes about a week for every scene.
I don't know how much it takes, but I know it takes a lot.
That's just on average. It'll take a week, because a conversation's going to have about 10 to 30 lines of dialogue, and each character is ideally going to have an animation cycle during that line. And so someone has to watch every frame.
No, not really. Basically, how they do it is they create a stock animation, and then they just use the engine to basically do it, and then the animators come over and they pick and choose different animations and attach them together, basically stringing them together.
Way to kill the magic for me.
Yeah, and then after that, they basically say, I think I'm going to this character is going to look better with default idle posing -3 rather than -2, so I'm going to change that for that. Yes, that looks better, and continues.
All right. It's funny how much that they automate so much of this, yet it still takes them forever, and they still fuck it up.
They animated mostly the poses that were the most crucial to the game.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah, they basically sorted all the scenes from the most important to the least. Yeah.
This should be a wake-up call to the industry. This really should, because I've been saying this
quality
for
years. Over deadlines.
I've been saying this for years. Is a lot of is it because AAA titles have given people this magical view on game development where it's time plus money equals awesome product. They think that's the equation. Just if you have a bunch of time and a bunch of money, you will have a good game. And this is the argument against that. Because you have the time mismanaged, you have the money mismanaged, both of it mismanaged, and you get a game that is ultimately a mess.
Yes, that's the reason why CD Projekt Red, for example, or Blizzard, go for quality first, the rest will come later. Because they know, these people know, that what they're doing is they are not crafting a game like that children will play, or they're not doing kid stuff. They're not doing entertainment. They're not doing subscription service. No, they are crafting a product, and that word is extremely important. Crafting. They are craftsmen. They are working diligently on creating something. And what executives do and what EA does, they don't think about it like a product that is crafted. They think about it like it's fast food. You know, slap things together and push it out, and you make money. And the more you push out, the more money you make. Yeah, that works in short term, which admittedly is exactly what stockholders want, but it's completely unsustainable model in the long term. That's the reason why EA is buying producers, ruining them, and then buying new producers, because that's the only way they can sustain their growth, by buying people, ruining them, beating the shit, beating their passion out of them, and then continuing.
Yeah, remember when we used to look forward to BioWare titles?
Yeah, remember that time where BioWare was actually treated like a 5-star restaurant, basically a quality assurance. Nowadays, when the quality is shitty, the main cook, the chef, comes out to you and says, "What the fuck do you think you are, you customer? I made this. This is my artistic vision. This is my my baby. How dare you shit on it and say that you do not like it? You do not know anything about video games." Yeah. Because that's what you do. You shit on the consumer, you shit on the producer, and then you say that this is your artistic vision.
Yeah. It's really weird how from person to person, industry to industry, the burden of proof just shifts so much. I mean, it's amazing. So, shifting forward to something that is not a total train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Xanathar's Guide to Everything has been announced, and it is on its way in August, I believe.
Ooh.
And this is the book with all of the Unearthed Arcana stuff in it. I don't know too much. I just learned about it recently.
Ooh. D&D stuff.
But I do know that, in general, 5th edition releases have been really good. Really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I'm going to believe you.
And I'm excited about this one because I have looked at most of the Unearthed Arcana stuff, and I'm interested to see what they're going to put in there, what they don't. And there's going to be a bunch of new content beside that, because it's a $40 to $50 book, I believe. It's going to be big. Mm-hmm. It's going to be roughly the size of the DMG, so I don't know.
Definitely sounds cool. I believe that they're going to introduce new psionic classes, right?
Yes, the rumor I have seen and perpetuated is that the Mystic from the Unearthed Arcana is going to be put in this book. And the Mystic is the first of, semi-official psionic class for 5th edition. And I remember being completely underwhelmed. So we'll see, because because the thing about their Unearthed Arcana is whenever they release the next thing after it, it always has a poll for the last thing they did. So they poll everyone when they release stuff.
I see.
So they must have had a lot of information to go off of, because it's been a few months since they released the Mystic on Unearthed Arcana. And by the way, I keep saying that so everyone knows, Unearthed Arcana is the unofficial official content that Wizards of the Coast releases for this edition on the website. You can just look it up, and it's all playtest material is what they mean. Ooh. So, for instance, there are archetypes in there that can be hit or miss. The Artificer class is on there, and that was super hit or miss. I generally don't like it when a class is designed around a weapon gimmick, because they gave the Artificer the best weapon in the game that they could just start with.
Which is?
A custom, like, thunder gun, and it does, like, 3d6 or some ridiculous amount of damage.
They gave him a gun, of course.
Yeah, the Artificer, one of the archetypes is you get a gun, and it's the strongest weapon in the game. And that's the sort of thing that we've been trying to avoid, is we want to avoid the bloat. And by the bloat, I mean that thing that happened in OGL, where people decided that every different variation of a class has to be called something different and be a new class. A piratey fighter has to be a new class called a pirate instead of a fighter that is just thematically a pirate.
Well, they technically I understand that, because they need to because that kind of character will be specializing in different kinds of weapons that need to be balanced, and they need to put work in that, and they don't really want that because they're lazy.
Yeah, I mean that's why they finally just went, okay, weapons, they're all types. Done. That way, if someone picks up a longsword and they go, "Can this be a katana?" You can go, "Yeah, that's a katana longsword."
Katana longsword. That sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong, but that's really what the equivalent is.
Yeah. I understand.
And like the great sword equivalents, the Nodachi, that sort of thing.
I see.
They did that to avoid that bloat. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. That will reduce the definitely the amount of like types of weapons.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there'll probably be new types and equivalents in this book because it's the Unearthed Arcana book, of course. So we'll see on that. We'll probably be talking about that again in August when it drops.
Probably.
Alright.
So what's next on the menu?
Well, Hearthstone has released a Fable expansion. Oh wait, I mean, the people who make Fable have released a card game.
Oh, yay! Collectible card games.
A collectible card game that is, of course, nothing like Hearthstone. Ha ha.
Well, there's a lot of collectible card games that have like traits that are common across the genre.
I mean, we keep making fun of all of these games for looking like Hearthstone, but the honest reality is, Hearthstone is a simplified form of Magic. That's why it took on. It's a simplified form of Magic the Gathering.
Well, you could also say that the Pokemon is a simplified version of Magic.
It kind of was. I mean, you got lands, you got the Pokemon.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's...
Then every CCG is a simplified version of Magic.
Not any CCG, just the ones that look a lot fucking like Magic. Like for instance, I do not argue that Netrunner was which, by the way, was made by the dude who made Magic. And that wasn't at all like Magic.
Because he knew that he already did Magic, it was boring, so he did something else.
Because he made that game already. But, yeah, so that's a thing. The main reason I wanted to talk about this is because the Fable franchise has been Peter Molyneux's gift to mediocrity.
Yes, this is going to be amazing. You're going to see. You will be able to plant a tree and then come over like 6 months later in game time and see that tree is going to be grown. And it's going to be big, and people are going to huddle around that tree to protect themselves from weather, and then you will return later, and they will revere the tree as an idol of a god or something like that.
The early 2000s were so notable because of Fable, because Peter Molyneux's level of inability to fulfill promises was...
And to basically make promises without any, like, bars hold.
Yeah, like... that Dilbert joke where Dilbert's boss overpromises on everything. If you were to distill all of those jokes into one person, you would probably end up with Peter Molyneux.
Yeah, he wasn't that in the beginning of his life.
Yeah,
right?
That's true, because he fulfilled with Black and White, kind of. Black and White, more or less, was what he said it was going to be. It's a game, you're a god, you have a creature. Yeah, the story mode was horrible in that it gave you a creature, and then for most of the story you couldn't use it, but...
Yeah, and it never grew to the size that it promised it would grow.
Yeah, you'd have to...
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, you had to play the game for years to get it as big as they promised.
I don't think so. I think that the creature basically was capped off at like 10% of the big creatures from the beginning, right?
Really?
I don't remember its name.
The creature guide.
Yeah. It was always capped off like on 20 or 25% of its height.
I never played long enough to get to that, but...
And then at the last stage, it's going to throw a curveball at you and force your creature to shrink.
Right.
Which to say that it pissed me off would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Because if I spent like 6 weeks just to have my creature grow, and then you make it shrink. Fuck you.
Yeah, the story mode for Black and White is the reason why Black and White never went on to be a super popular franchise.
It did get a sequel.
It got a sequel that was universally hated because of how unlike the first game it was. It was literally a city builder where you had a creature.
I say, well, from my point of view, it was pretty decent. There was nothing there that I hated. I like the idea of...
They actually let you mess around with your creature in that game. That was nice.
They also allow you to to make to deform the geometry of the island of the land that you were on.
Oh, I never got to that.
Yeah, you basically could cast a volcano spell, and it would actually deform the island. But
so basically what Populous did 10 years before that.
yeah, but then it's going to slowly reverse back. So up to the point where the volcano actually explodes, it's all awesome from the technical standpoint.
Okay, Peter.
But from the gameplay standpoint, then it's going to go back and nothing will change.
If you want to make all of gamerkind stop hating you, Peter Molyneux, here's all you have to do.
Shut the fuck up.
Make another Black and White game. Just shut the fuck up. Just make it. Don't say anything. Don't even announce it. Just make it.
Yeah.
Just make a Black and White game. It doesn't have to be called Black and White. You just have to have a creature. You have to have people you can fuck with. You have to have spells. It doesn't even have to have a story mode. It could just be a game where it randomly makes a world and you just fuck in it. That could be the game, and you would instantly be the hero of gamerkind.
Yeah, you can modify the add the modification, right, of the land so that you can grow it. Maybe discover new stuff. I don't know. You're the game developer.
Just
make a good game.
Just take what you're trying to do with Goddess and unfuck it.
Yes.
Because,
Goddess plus Black and White.
Oh my, Goddess was a train wreck. So, by the way, we have completely... we derailed the train. The Fable graphic, this is more like we bitch about Peter Molyneux than actually about Fable.
Yeah, we not just derailed the train of thought, but after we derailed it, we took a taxi and went completely other way.
This is basically one of those times where they pull out a shiny car, it's there for about 3 minutes, and then the rest of the episode is spent walking around.
Pretty much. I'm very sorry.
But Goddess
very
was
short
a
attention.
Oh yes, well we're gamers. That's how that works.
Yep.
Goddess was a train wreck.
Yep.
And I'm gonna explain why. Because
I also like the way it wasn't.
It was a casual, cow clicker that was trying to be Populous, which is amazing because it was made by the guy who did Populous. Or wait, no, did he do Populous?
I don't know.
That was
I don't
Bullfrog.
care.
Bullfrog did Populous, but I don't. Then why the fuck were you making that game, Peter Molyneux?
As I look at it, basically, Peter Molyneux was trying. I don't know.
Oh, he was part of Bullfrog. Yeah. He only co-founded it.
Yeah, he made the Team Hospital, the Dungeon Keeper games. These were awesome games. They had wonderful sense of humor.
Oh, here's why I don't identify Bullfrog with Molyneux. It's because he left in 1997 to form Lionhead, which then went on to
after
make
EA
Black
bought.
and White.
Yeah, after EA bought Bullfrog, basically.
Yeah, I was wondering why I had no recollection of that. Because one of the just I don't just in my history I don't.
Yeah, it was a wonderful series of games, but yeah, it couldn't last forever. EA, the curse of EA, has had.
The curse of EA.
I believe Bullfrog was the first game developer that was killed by EA.
Oh, it was moided. It was moidalized. It was amazing how quickly that company fell, which is sad because it made Dungeon Keeper 2, and that's universally thought of as a hit.
It was a decent game, yes, but I think that Dungeon Keeper 2 simply did make a profit, but did not make enough of a profit.
If there was more technology available, it would have been a better game for sure. But what I'm pointing at is for its time, it was a very advanced game.
Yeah, Dungeon Keeper. It was like the best game in which you played as the villain, and the narration, the villainous narration, was wonderful, truly juicy, and exactly as you would expect the villain, a person who truly thinks themselves as villains would think.
Well, it was notable in that it didn't try to pull the punch and go, "Oh, you're not really that evil. You're helping."
Yeah, like Overlord.
Yeah. Exactly. Overlord failed so hard because it tried to pull back the punch. It tried to go, "I'm evil."
Oh, you're
kind of.
You were a hero. You're still kind of a hero.
Yeah, it's like, come on, moving on.
Okay, let's get back on the train of thought.
It reminded me of Overlord, and that just instills rage. Speaking of, well, I guess we were talking about games that just did not promise or deliver on what they promised. Thank you, Molyneux. Alright, this is really big. Greenlight is going away. It's gone. No more.
No! Greenlight! No! Oh, wait, I actually wanted you today.
It is an X service.
Yay! Let's cheer together for the death of the service that brought us such gems as Digital Homicide.
Well, it brought us Digital Homicide. It brought us all sorts of games. Well, as a Steam consumer, you might be wondering, why is there so much porn on Steam all of a sudden?
There's so much porn on Steam because 1, it's very cheap to make, 2, you can sell it, 3, you can make cards on it, and 4, you can make a card economy that will basically generate you money by 5, stealing it from Steam.
Yeah, cause that's the thing about these games is they're really cheap to make. You don't really need that much talent from a coding perspective. And
you can trade
a passable artist. Anyone can draw the anime bullshit.
You don't even need an artist. You just buy assets from the Unity store.
What, are there just generic dating game assets?
Yeah.
Huh. I shouldn't be surprised.
It's probably amalgam of assets from Unity or from whatever.
I'm referring to like the typical porn that's in those games, like the art specifically.
I see.
Is
maybe You can always steal it from the internet too.
Not a whole game's worth of naughty art. You can definitely, there are people that do it for sure, but the thing about Greenlight is gave us good games like War of the Over. Well, this is in the wrong section, so I won't say it. So in the first year, we saw such titles as Evil Land, Rogue Legacy, and Verdun. However, there's also been a huge growth in games like visual novels. Whether you love or hate visual novels, they have a huge following on Steam because, well, they're cheap. And there's some other good games on Greenlight coming, like Dead Cells and Blackwake.
There's this game called Major Minor, which is also a kind of a visual novel that is furry and that has a lot of drama around it.
And I don't think We Happy Few was Greenlight. It might have been Greenlight, because I know they did do a Kickstarter campaign, and we've talked about this, how that developer likes to do, or that publisher likes to kickstart, or likes to publish games that are kickstarted.
I see.
Because they're, they are definitely more reliable. Can't argue about that. We Happy Few. Mm-hmm. People said they wanted it.
Yep. Kickstarter is, as we said before, a very good platform to show producers.
Because it is a funding platform. It is not a pre-ordering platform. Yeah. That's what Steam's for.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're replacing this with Steam Direct, and it's launching in a few days.
Nice.
And we'll see how that works. The few good things we could say about Greenlight is it got a lot of feet through the door.
Yeah, that's definitely. I believe that 70% or 60% of games that are on Steam right now came out in 2016.
And yeah, there's a lot of pixel garbage on Steam now. And it's not a bad thing. There are people that buy that shit.
They're wasting money, and they are fueling illegitimate economy. But yeah, I guess
it's the same thing with early access, and we've talked about this. Is it's always going to have good and bad things to it. Like early access has allowed some good games to get through, like We Happy Few and Crawl, and there have been some very bad games like Clockwork Empires that were that just used the platform to get money. That's all they did. And the sad thing about Clockwork Empires is, for the longest time, I thought it was worth it because they were actively developing it. However, all of a sudden, everything I liked about the game kept getting removed, and they kept going, oh, now it's this, now it's that. The straw that broke my back wasn't that they removed multiplayer from Clockwork Empires, which, by the way, is a huge sign that game was not going to live up to expectations.
Yeah.
But when they said they were removing the one thing they had going for them, which was the virtual personalities, a huge draw for the game was all of the colonists had an AI that was making a decision very RimWorld-esque, and that's why RimWorld has replaced Clockwork Empires as the sim game everyone likes.
At least for you.
You say that, but I think the Steam most played statistics agree with me and not you.
Oh, well, I don't know anything about the Clockwork Empire, so I'm just assuming things.
Oh no, Clockwork Empire's tanked hard.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. I believe you. I have no reason not to.
Oh, it tanked hard. And it's partly because of what I said. They kept cutting shit. One of the very first things that well, for one, is they focused too hard on terraforming terrain for some reason. They absolutely had to have terrain that you could terraform, and it complicated every other system they wanted to implement.
I see. And so they have to start removing systems in order to get that working.
Yeah, and the issue with the personality system is it was making and the same thing to an extent happens in RimWorld, is when you give worker pawns personality needs, so to speak, is it cuts down their efficiency by half easily.
Yeah, because now they have to worry about all kinds of other things. You can kind of make up for it by making all their work take half the original amount of time.
Well, there are ways around it. It's just everyone tries to just slap the personality system there and call it a day. And when you have AI running on this system trying to do the regular automated worker tasks, it's like I said, extremely inefficient. RimWorld, in how it has its priority system, it's super inefficient. For instance, cleanliness is one of the most important things in RimWorld. However, it's the second most unimportant task in the automated priority system. So even if you have 20 to 30 colonists, because they all run on that system, cleaning happens last.
Unless you fiddle-faddle with the priorities.
Unless you fiddle-faddle with their priorities, and that can be so annoying. Because
some people see it as a benefit, as a draw. They like to fiddle with them.
I don't like it personally, but I don't know. I just fell in love with the concept of automated workers, and I kind of wish that personality would work with that, but it kind of doesn't. But going back to Clockwork Empires, where it didn't work for Clockwork Empires is they had an additional system on top of that where overseer characters led parties of worker characters. So you had to have this ratio of overseers and workers, and you couldn't just get overseers. They were middle class people that you had to get in a special method. And if you and if these people became too inefficient, crazy, or dead, then you were fucked. And there were some builds of the game where you had to where you couldn't get a military in certain ways, and there were certain builds of the game where this wouldn't happen or that wouldn't happen, or there were certain builds of the game where in almost every other build the cafeteria didn't work. Just making food just didn't work in half of the builds of the game. And
I guess you would love playing with Dwarf Fortress then.
and the reason for this not working is because they were so dead set on making these mechanics work with the status quo that it was like square blocks into round pegs. You couldn't do it. And hopefully with Steam Direct, we're going to see less of that shit.
That's a wonderful drift. Right back on the track.
See, I had a roommate who used to keep saying Irishman storytelling, but it's really just, you got high and rambled. And by you, I mean me. Because there's someone smoking a bong here, and it's not you.
Pretty much. So yeah, what do we have next on the table?
Well,
Cyberpunk 2077 held hostage.
okay, so in their infinite wisdom, hackers, and I use this term extremely loosely because it might have been just a password fisher for all we know.
Unauthorized person or persons?
Now, here's the thing, is it's so fitting that a cyberpunk game gets targeted by a hacker.
But let's call them netrunners.
Yeah, is a netrunner literally did a run on the people making a cyberpunk game.
Yes, CD Projekt Red is known for their game Witcher 3, the Witcher series. And recently, well, not recently, around 6 years ago, they announced that they're going to be making Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, and we've covered this before. The Cyberpunk franchise is made by Artelsorian Games, headed by Maximum Mike Pondsmith, who is the Peter Molyneux of role-playing games, in that he's batshit crazy.
Yes, but he's not making the Cyberpunk 2077.
No,
he's just advising.
He is doing exactly what he should be doing, which is he gave the rights to someone who's competent and let them do it.
Yes.
Because the thing about Maximum Mike Pondsmith is this is the gentleman who wrote an edition under the mantra, "Kids like video games."
Okay.
And so Cyberpunk 3rd Edition is literally a MMO written as a tabletop role-playing game. Literally. He does not hide this. He says it in the very first page.
Well, at least he had fun with it.
I know, that you can't rail against him for that because it was so honest.
Yeah. It's very rare when people who are batshit insane actually are honest about it.
He was so honest about it, and that's why I kind of grew to half like that edition, because yeah, it's not Cyberpunk 2020, but it wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, that is not what this game is. It is based on the actual Cyberpunk franchise and not 3rd edition.
I think they are just taking the stories and settings.
Yeah.
I don't think they're focusing on the system itself.
Not the system itself, no, but certainly the setting, because we're seeing a lot of the 2020 style garb, which is what people from the 70s thought now would look like.
Yeah, like the fact that we're going to have clamshell cell phones.
Everyone will be wearing neon leopard print stuff.
Yes. And we're going to have people who will be biologically modified to have leopard skin.
Yes, just everyone is obsessed with having this leopard motif on them somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness that basically the way people in the 80s, 70s and 80s thought about how future would look like, and having the benefit of living in that future gives us a lot of insight on how people thought in these times, what was important to them, and so on and so forth. But now, taking this back to Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red.
Yes. So as we said, hacker
Yeah,
stole.
there was a run.
There was
a hacksaw.
There was a run. Pay data was stolen.
Nah.
And a demand was
sent. Yeah.
Now, Christian, would you like to explain to those at home why it is a bad idea to steal from a Polish person?
You see, there is a joke in Germany. They say, "Why is it so nice to go to Poland for vacation?" Because your car is already there. The implication being that we already stole it. So, Polish people have a bad reputation that they are thieves, that they are very sneaky people. So sometimes I don't know whether it is deservingly so or not, but the gist of it is you don't fuck with a Polish person.
Yeah,
we've been longer under foreign regimes than America was a country. The United States of America were a country. So we know how stealing things works, how subversion works. We know we have it in our blood to be paranoid about things, and we have it in our blood to distrust authority.
Right.
So if you come to us and steal from us, we're going to fuck your shit up. And that's basically what CD Projekt Red did.
CD Projekt Red released a like 2-paragraph memo saying something was stolen, we don't care.
Yes. Because what was stolen, in all actuality,
it was a demo build.
Not just a demo build. It was the sketch from the first version of the game.
Yeah.
Which it is amazing on its own. Because here you are as a hacker, you get top secret files from this Polish corporation, and you think you have something big, and then
it turns out you have nothing.
Yes.
And which is to be expected when you steal from a Polish person. If you try to steal a Polish person's wallet, all you have accomplished is trading wallets.
Yes.
And
the Polish person was smart enough to actually not leave anything valuable in that wallet.
Yeah, and the Polish guy's wallet was a dummy, so you look double stupid. And that's effectively what happened here. Is the Netrunner stole this company's garbage build, and the company stole their dignity.
Yep. And they are happy about it as well, because as it's so they basically turned that entire situation into a PR move. They're basically coming clean to the community. They're telling the community that they were stolen from, but that they're not going to meet the demands of the person who stole it.
Oh yeah,
and that
they didn't even allude to it. They were just flat out, we aren't giving them shit.
Precisely. They just they gave something to the hacker. I'm going to admit that they gave him middle finger.
Oh yeah, they gave them the middle finger, like.
and the community also has a lot of credit of goodwill held in the CD Projekt Red's account, because even if the hacker actually stole the complete game and put it on a torrent, I doubt that that there would be a lot of people who would download that initial build from the torrent. That's one thing. Second thing, I really doubt that even if they did download it,
even if
I think that they would still buy the game.
They'd still give CD Projekt Red money because they're doing it to see how they're doing more so than to say, haha, I have this game.
Yeah, and to support a more morally right developer who has a very strong moral compass, who puts the good of the player, the joy of the making of a game first before profits, and that actually pays them out. This is the reason why every single time when someone says to me, "Oh, corporations are not there they're not charities, they have to make money." Well, yeah, but there's a moral way to make money. You don't have to shove microtransactions in your single-player game in order to make money.
Well, that and statistics have proven that corporations that invest a lot into the community become community fixtures, and they're not only do their shares go up because they have excellent public image, but because they invest in the community around them, the community can afford what they're selling.
Yeah. It's basically the kind of mentality that will never be displayed around people who are shareholders, because shareholders, what they don't want, shareholder does not want a good game. What they want is they want profit, and they want that profit to be as quickly as possible. Yeah, they want to have as big of a return as quickly as possible. Absolutely. And that kind of mentality does not make either good community or good games. Yeah. CD Projekt Red, Blizzard, those people know exactly what makes a good game. That's the reason why their philosophy is not, "Oh, we're going to have this game done by this this time or this time."
Here's a good example of this mindset. Is the Dakota Access Pipeline. It was getting protested against, and still is, every waking moment of its existence by every echelon of government, except for the ones that were, of course, bought by the oil things. And there were murmurs of shutting down that pipeline, not because there were protesters at the site every waking moment, not because the government officials were arguing about it. No, it's because the investors were getting worried that there would be not enough returns. That's what was threatening that pipeline. And that translates perfectly to what we're trying to say about gaming, is that these AAA stockholders, they are concerned about money. That's why products like Andromeda come out.
Yes.
Because they think, they buy into the Kool-Aid that it's money plus time equals profit.
And that is unfortunately not true. If you want to create good games, you have to employ a philosophy, it's done when it's done, and not a philosophy like, this is our deadline, this is the game that we're going to make, let's make it.
Speaking of when it's done, CD Projekt Red has released no information whatsoever. None. Not a shred about this game. We have a trailer.
Not even a trailer, a teaser trailer.
Not even a real trailer.
And it was released like 4 years ago?
No. It's
ancient.
Is it?
Yeah.
It feels newer than that.
No, it's ancient. I believe the first time they mentioned Cyberpunk 2077 was in a encoded message at an end of a trailer for Witcher 2.
Oh, damn.
And people basically went batshit insane for it. And when CD Projekt Red saw that incredibly enthusiastic response, then they released a trailer and then like for 5 years there was silence.
I really hope that Artel Saurian Games comes back from the dead, because I looked at their website recently, and it's really kind of a shell of its former glory.
I believe that the trademark for board games, Cyberpunk board games, belongs to CD Projekt Red now. So if there's going to be a new RPG, board game, like pen and paper RPG,
it has
it's
to
going
be
to come
okayed
from
by them.
CD Projekt. Yeah, it's either going to be made by CD Projekt Red or it will be okayed by them.
All right, research powers activate. I have to know this.
Yeah, original teaser trailer was published on January the 10th, 2013. So 4 years ago.
And apparently they filed a trademark for the word cyberpunk in Europe.
And in America.
Oh, you couldn't do that in America, no way.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but it didn't get there's no way
approved?
There's no way that got approved.
I think it did.
I
know that definitely the guys who made the Cyberpunk, the pen and paper game, have the trademark for toys and for board games. And I believe that CD Projekt Red extended that to digital products.
Yeah, I think Artel Saurian still owns the Cyberpunk series.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna... Don't make me send them an email.
CD Projekt Red explained Cyberpunk trademark. Eurogamer. Where is it? What is it?
Well, that's that. I just read that. That was the trademark.
Yes, the trademark. Yes.
That's brain.
Not copyright, trademark.
Yeah, that's not a copyright. That's a trademark.
Yes.
And
we're talking only about trademarks right now.
Correct. I think. Where am I?
Yeah, you cannot copyright a phrase cyberpunk, no.
Yeah,
but you can trademark it.
That. You can trademark it, but
you can trademark it. You cannot copyright it.
I don't but because that's the name of a genre though. You could in Europe they trademarked Grimdark for Warhammer, but I don't think that got approved here in the US.
Yeah, but cyberpunk is
a genre.
But it wasn't a genre when the trademark was made. Bullshit. And they are just expanding it.
Bullshit.
No, it wasn't.
No, I say bullshit.
It wasn't a genre.
It is a genre.
Now?
It has been. It has been ever since some asshole wrote fucking iRobot. Its existence since Asimov has been sperm. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, Cyberpunk, the pen and paper. Yes, but Cyberpunk, the game Cyberpunk, actually, even if it was made after Blade Runner, the name of the genre, because before the Cyberpunk came around, it was just sci-fi.
Are you saying,
Cyberpunk after the
Mike
game
Pondsmith created the genre?
He didn't create the genre.
Well, not
he
create
just
the genre, but created the
name for the genre. Yes.
Yeah.
He trademarked it.
Well, no, CD Projekt Red just trademarked it now.
No, but he trademarked it, but they bought it just now. They bought the trademark from him. And the trademark extends to pen and paper games and similar products. And they expanded it to include digital video games. They are saying that this is a completely defensive move to protect themselves from someone making a game called Cyberpunk 2076, for example, or 2078, right?
Right.
And basically riding on the popularity of their product. You can still make like John Carpenter's Adventures in Cyberpunk. You can still make that. They're not going to pursue you for that. Trademark laws, especially in US, are completely and utterly batshit insane. So I don't blame you for misunderstanding it, and I probably didn't got it 100% either.
No, it's okay. I'm just like stunned here.
I believe that they did get that trademark, that expansion to the trademark.
But either way, the other thing here is it says in the Cyberpunk 2077 article is that he's a Mike Pondsmith's a periodic consultant for the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it every day, of course, because of the distance. Unfortunately, California and Poland aren't yet connected to each other, so
yeah,
we're trying. It turns out there are legal issues with airlifting the entire state to another part of the world.
I do believe that CD Projekt is trying to open, or already opened, a studio in US.
Yeah,
I think so, but
they should call it.
Don't quote me on that.
They should call it CD Projekt Red, White, and Blue,
or CD Projekt Freedom.
CD Projekt Edeland.
CD Projekt America. Anywho, let's return to the
I
story
don't think
itself.
we're ever on the topic. All right.
No, but we're having fun, right? That's what's important. We're having fun. So I believe that's it for the stories.
On to answers nobody wanted.
Duh.
How do you deal with a group without a tank? Linked with a fucked up, all like leet speaky name. Link Lowankin Threed.
Yes.
He writes with the DM flair. So my players are one ranger and two wizards, and would all die in 2 or 3 hits. I don't really know how to make it still challenging without killing a PC every session. For now, I've introduced a DMPC who tanks most of the damage, but I know that is not a permanent solution. So how would you guys handle it? Half of our game is homebrew, so introducing new rules, etc. isn't a problem.
I would say that invite a new player and tell him to be a tank.
That's kind of a rough, slapshot way of doing it.
Yep.
No, but the question really is, how do you deal with a group without a tank? And getting a new guy is kind of like the easy way out. Yeah, it is a way to solve the problem, but
You could
Inviting
also
a guy
kill.
just because you need diversity is not always a good move. I mean, I try that every now and then. It never seems to work.
You can also kill off one of the characters and force them to be a tank.
Well, he's trying to avoid killing people.
Well, you don't have to kill someone every session. You just have to kill one person and tell them what to do.
Well, the great thing about 5th edition is you can just beat the shit out of them. They'll get back up.
Maybe.
Maybe. But so it's 2 wizards and a ranger. Rangers are kind of off fightery. They can fight. They suffer from being more of a dexterity build usually, because typically the person wants good dexterity so that they can use ranged weapons interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
That typically is what people expect of a ranger, is that they are ranged, even though that's not what that means.
Tell them to invest in mage armor.
Wizards are extremely versatile, even more so in 5e, because they have a very diverse spell list. Like you just said, they have mage armor, and that gives them, what, like 5 extra points of AC? It makes them survivable.
Yeah.
Hit points wise, they're going to be struggling until 3rd level for sure.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anyone with the bucket of hit points that they would hope to have. Wizards no longer have D4s, thankfully, but they're still fairly low in hit points. Rangers kind of have hit points, but again, they're not meant to take that much damage.
You could make one of the wizards a summoner and summon a creature that would tank for them.
The issue is that summoning was kind of unceremoniously cut from D&D.
Oh, really?
Yes, summoning spells went from being available to everyone, went to available to almost no one.
So who are they available to?
NPCs. And exclusively NPCs, it seems. I think there are like there are magic items that summon, but that's about it.
I guess since the guys are homebrewing, that you might want to homebrew the summoning in.
You can homebrew a summoning spell. I would look at the 3rd edition equivalents and decide how you want to transition it. Like what I would probably do is I would take the summoning spell. I would cut down the number you can summon, and then just look at like quality. So because there was this one guy that posed a homebrew summoner class, and it was absolutely ridiculous because it let you summon your CR in creatures, which is infinitely better than the druid, which can, I think the maximum he can do is CR 6 in what he can become in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like he had, like, even if you build to be a transforming druid, you can't get that high up, and it doesn't matter because even at that CR, you're still super powerful. Because you get multi-attack. You're usually large size, so you can trample shit.
Well, that depends on the type of creature that you're going to transform into.
Well, at that CR, everything's going to be really big.
Yeah. But first, you have to level up to that point.
Right. But going back to the summoner concept is effectively you're able to summon a creature that is strong enough to pose a balanced fight for the entire rest of the party. And that is very bad design. It's very bad design because one player should not be able to fight every single other player at once in almost any situation.
Well, that's the reason why you're homebrewing it, right? To balance it out. And basically
course.
make it
There's a
so
way
that
to cut down the summoning so that it's just a spell on their list as a wizard archetype.
Mhm.
And so at third level you can wait, do wizards start out with I don't know. They might.
I would say that if you want to give your wizards the ability to summon, so make them be able to summon something, but then they cannot cast spells of that level and lower.
Well, no, make it concentration.
Or concentration, yeah, that's a good idea as well.
If you want to avoid it getting abused, make it concentration, because that way the summoner has to use his concentration slot, so to speak, in order to keep this creature around, and that way you can disrupt the summoner's concentration somehow, and the summon goes away, and that's fairly balanced because there's a notable way to get rid of it.
That makes sense.
And I think that's far more balanced, even if they can summon something that's like that's around druidy CR.
Because, so give them the ability to basically tank either through a spell that they can cast or by basically killing someone and then making them into a tank.
And then also talk to your players about their spell lists and how they think their spells work. Because a lot of players immediately write off any spell that doesn't do damage. To their peril.
Yes.
To their peril. Because damage
buffs
isn't everything.
Important. Yes, buffs are important too.
Buffs are super important, especially in this edition. Damage buffs, damage resistance, super important. It halves the damage you take against that thing. If you ever wonder why you're attacking a monster and you've done like 100 hit points to it and it's not going down, that's why. Use that against them. It's awesome. Which, by the way, is why barbarians are fantastic in this edition. And, yes, you can do it with 3 people. The thing about it, if you're using an XP budget, which I recommend for this game, definitely. I always use the deadly bracket, but use whatever works for you. If you don't think your players can handle it, trim off some XP. And do note the XP modifiers, because attack economy, really important. A lot of monsters get multi-attack, even at first level.
Multi-attack is strong.
Multi-attack's really strong. Especially for new players. Because they're going to run in, they think they're far tankier than they actually are. Let's put it this way. If you're some random bumpkin and you have a sword and some guy said, oh, by the way, go fight those monsters, that doesn't actually make you stronger. You're still a schmuck with a sword. This is my story.
But people do not want to be schmucks with swords. They want to be strong and heroes. Well, you first have to work for it. But I don't want to work for it. I want it now.
I mean, thankfully, it doesn't take too long to get to level 3.
No,
not in this edition. It doesn't take too long, especially if your party's like, we want to fight more.
Yes, because the way it was done, the way this is explained in Fluff, you're basically, when you start at level 1, you're basically equivalent to a farmer
Yeah.
or a peasant.
You're effectively a commoner.
Yeah, and commoners usually do not go out at an adventure. They do not gain battle experience. Basically, they do not gain the knowledge of how battles work, how you fight, how you
And if they do
manipulate the
fight
sword.
something, then they're using so many commoners that it drains all the XP and they barely get anything.
Yeah, they basically mob.
Yeah, they have to mob to be effective.
And technically that works for them, but you as an adventurer, you actually go out, and the first time you go out, it's always going to be more dangerous than the 50th time that you go out, because you will know what to worry about, what not to worry about, and you're going to know how far you can actually push your character.
Yes. And people have posed before that as a level 1 you can beat someone else of possibly higher level. That's not so much true in this edition. It was possible in 3.5 because of how weapon die abuse could work.
Also, you could buy like weapons that could help you to neutralize the target, like basically a flashbang.
Yeah, there were ways to very cheesily beat someone else in that game. In 5th edition, there are still many cheesy ways to knock someone out. There are, like Drow Poison. Drow Poison is bullshit.
You sound like you ran into it.
It is utter bullshit. Carry-on crawlers, always been bullshit for that reason. Und yes, I believe we have answered everything. I do believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
Yay!
So that is our show
for today. See you out next week.
We will see you the next week with more stories and better prepping. And
you want more stories? Oh my!
Oh yeah,
okay.
At least 700 stories. All of the stories.
All of the stories. Okay.
All of the stories.